And Inglés or Español, however you prefer, you can start whenever you are ready.
Thank you very much, Josh. Hi, Gabriel. How are you today?
Hi, Arturo. Very nice. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk about Black Widow.
Great pleasure.
To start off, I wanted to ask if you could talk a little bit about what the visual identity and the visual language of Black Widow is and how you and your team landed on that look.
Well, Marvel has a language. The Marvel universe has a language that has been very clear and people really enjoy. However, Black Widow is like the character itself. Black Widow is the most human of all the superheroes. She doesn't have supernatural powers. She's really the product of training and suffering as character. So that makes her very, very special as a superhero and also as a character. And also Scarlett is a phenomenal and very wonderful actress. So with those elements there on that character, what we are trying to do is we are trying to create a language of it. I mean, we're trying to get a language which is slightly different of the language of most Marvel films without sacrificing the spectacle. On the contrary. So the big difference here is that we are mainly using the emotions to lead the film, not the spectacle. The spectacle is there and it's wonderful. People will go to the cinema and will say, what an incredible piece of visual effects, of fights, it's absolutely fantastic, truly, truly spectacular. But within that spectacularity, you will have also the emotions of the character. So the photography and the visual style of this film, that's why it's slightly different, responds to that reality. We are dealing with a very powerful emotional film within the great spectacle of Marvel.
Thank you, Gabriel. And as you mentioned, there's already a style for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and you've worked on other films in that before. So I was wondering, what is the experience of now being the director of photography on Black Widow and those other responsibilities and having a larger authority on what happens with the film's look?
Yeah. Well, before I was doing additional photography in that modality that Marvel discovered once they became a studio. See, because I did Marvel films before, I did the Blades, but they were not part of the Marvel studio universe. So now that Marvel discovered, and they discovered that possibility that when they finished the film, presented to groups of people to gather information on what that audience was wanted to get. And more than that, I call it that it was part of the collective dream. The collective dream that the Marvel wanted to say, what is happening there in our society? What is what they need to see and feel? And that's the reason why Marvel films are very powerful. And they have this amazing audience because they speak to the collective dream. So what I did is I tried to, yes, respect the style created by the director and the director of photography that did the first film or the first originally. But when we went to do additional photography, that additional photography was responding to the needs of an audience that they had been presented the film to, meaning the collective dream. So my photography, even though had to respect that technical stuff and perhaps artistic, has to also create a language that was going to match those expectations from the audience. So I have to be very, very respectful and at the same time very innovative. So when I had the opportunity to now create my own style, it was very interesting. And I hope I'm creating something that is not betraying the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but that is evolving the Marvel Cinematic Universe and bringing something else to that. Not only the spectacle, but also to work with the emotions of the character and the emotions of the characters and create that visual universe, in the same way that the comics used to do it. When you used to open a comic and just a very powerful image spoke more than 1,000 words.
Thank you. Um, can you speak on how you worked with the director Kate Shortland to find the right balance and tone of the human moments and the more fantastic elements for Black Widow?
Well, Kate, the most important thing was trust. I jokingly I said I'm the hand of the queen. I'm the hand of the queen. I protect the queen, and not that it needed to be protected. No, no. But the Marvel universe is powerful. I mean, its visual effects universe is very strong, and the stunts were very important, and the fight arrangements, and the choreography, and the different units, and the second unit, and the aerial unit, and all those units. But so what Kate was always and I talk very often was, let's make sure that nothing of that is going to be more powerful than our story. So that's what the conversations that Kate and I constantly had, and that was the trust, because at the beginning Kate was very cagey. Oh, I'm not sure whether this man is a Marvel guy. I mean, he's been working with Marvel for so many films. Surely he's a Marvel guy. But when Kate realized that even though I had worked for Marvel, I was not paid by Marvel. I was not part of Marvel. That I mean, not paid full time. That I was a freelance cinematographer who was a director also in my own right, and that I also had always worked for the idea and for the vision of my directors, because that's the way that I will expect a DP to work for me. Work for my vision. I'm going to work now for the vision. When Kate trusted that that was going to happen, we both marched together, hand by hand, absolutely making sure that the emotions of the story that she wanted to tell were always leading the spectacle, not diminishing the spectacle. On the contrary, that's why the spectacle is so important there, but it's there in the service of the emotions. It's not only just a beautiful, powerful visual effects image. It has a function that serves the story. And that's what makes the film very special.
Thank you. I was wondering if you can speak on any memorable or favorite scene that you set up for this film.
Well, I think the most important thing for me, as I said, when you see the film, you see that there are scenes that are incredible. The rescue of David Harbour from the prison in Siberia, you know, phenomenal. It's spectacular scene. And the last scene, spectacular scene, you know, the descent, absolutely. But perhaps the most beautiful moment there is when you have two phenomenal actresses, Scarlett Johansson and Florence Pugh, sitting in a little coffee shop in Budapest and talking face to face, heart to heart, and the two sisters talking to each other. That moment of this phenomenal performance, phenomenal, powerful characters and dialogue, it is what it makes the film so valuable, because you know that that extraordinary little scene, simple, not only is a master class in performance, not only is a master class on that really reaches the emotions of the audience and will make you think, but also what it will do is it will match perfectly the full spectacle of the film. And that is really what the most interesting thing for me I have done in that I have done in Black Widow.
Well, that's all my time. So thank you very much, Gabriel. I appreciate the time.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Take care.